Welcome, everybody. Sorry for the little bit of delay in starting today. We had some technical difficulties, and unfortunately, you probably might still hear a little bit of feedback as we go through this, and I apologize. Can't seem to figure out what's going on with that, but welcome to the show. Today, the question people always ask, what's in my diffuser? So today, I randomly chose two oils that I mixed together. One of them is Robin Sarah, which is the oil of expansion. And it helps individuals accept challenging experiences they encounter. It assists them in discovering the lessons in growth, even in difficult and painful events. And the other one I chose was Anchor, which is a blend. And this blend invites individuals to remain present and aware when they feel the pull to choose out of integrity and self-protect. So I think they're two great oils to put together, especially in this time as we're going into the holidays and self-protection and just to keep ourselves bolstered. Today, my guest is Lynwood McLeod. He's an Ohio native with a degree in music education, living and working in New York for almost 9 years. They're working entertainer and drag queen under the name Shirley U, Jest, singing, dancing, and acting for stage and screen. Most recently, they were seen in the Off-Broadway show, The Housewives of Secaucus, performing in the role of Anita Martini. In 2016, they won the New York Top Drag Queen competition and was nominated for a Glam Award for Breakthrough Artist. As a BDSM practitioner, Lynwood has been involved with the scene for almost 5 years, learning, practicing, educating, and cultivating the leather and kink lifestyle. You can find their song, Just Before the Rain, on Adam Shapiro's recent EP titled Let Love In, and they are currently developing a new entertainment podcast, Laugh Along with Shirley, which will be coming out soon. So welcome, Lynwood.
Hey, how you doing?
Good. That seems to have stopped the problem.
Yep,
with the mic. So I think you got the feedback problem worked out. So thanks for switching the headsets.
Absolutely. Thank you for your patience.
Oh, no problem. So how are you doing today?
I'm doing okay. So I'm off of work at the moment, so I got some days to work on myself and work on my apartment. As you know, I've been through a big upheaval. Yep. I'm going through the whole. It's the whole Sagittarius season. Everything else is falling away. We're keeping our light on something while the rest of the world just like burns away around us. That's kind of where I'm at.
As I was reading your bio, I didn't realize that you wrote that song that was on Adam's EP.
Yes, indeed.
I love that song.
Thank you.
He had said it was mostly people that he knew that had written the stuff, and I never made the connection back when we were doing because he was on for the release of the EP. And that's great. And it wasn't until, like I said, when I was reading your bio that I made the connection that, hey, I know that person.
I'm so glad to have that song out. It's wonderful for me. I performed that song back when Adam was judging me for the So You Think You Can Drag competition. And he called me up a couple of years ago, pre-pandemic, and was like, I would love to put this on an EP. And I said, go for it. Like, put some music out there.
Yeah, he told me this story. I just never made the connection that I actually knew the person he was talking about. So you have a new podcast coming up too, Laugh Along with Shirley. Can you tell us a little about that?
Well, back in January, I did an interview for a group called New Queer Order. Well, they were then The Screw. That's their podcast is the main one in their network. And those producers called me and said, we want to work with you and help develop something. We love what you're doing. I said, I would love to do that. They're building up their own queer radio network called the New Queer Order. And so they're trying to build up programming in that and build up queer voices. And so through a lot of different meetings, we discovered that what I really wanted to do and what we really wanted to see was a queer radio variety hour, something that has sort of the helping hands of like Carol Burnett's show, Lawrence Welk, and a Prairie Home Companion. This sort of like, yeah, like queer voices with skits and songs and things to say, or you know, fun stuff to do. We've had such a horrible 2 years. It's been quite the mess, and so part of what I want to do is just help create more fun, and especially with queer people, with queer voices, with diversity that you don't normally see. It's taken some time to build up because it really is like its own production. But the idea is to have sort of this variety hour where I can talk to the people. We can laugh at some skits or some weird stuff, you know, something, whatever it is that helps keep us laughing and keep us entertained while everything is such a mess, you know.
And it's a podcast, not a webcast, correct?
Yep, it's a podcast. I'm in my head. I want it to get to a point where I can even like once a month do it in front of people and in that Prairie Home Companion kind of way, where there's a stage and maybe a band behind me and a Foley artist for skits. Yeah, that's with the unlimited budget in my head.
They have to get that unlimited budget funded, right?
Yeah, we're working on that.
Well, definitely when when it comes out, definitely send me the information so that I can put it on. I'll help promote it as well on my websites and stuff.
Absolutely.
So and I think it's a great way. I'm all about connection. My brand is Adventures in Connection. So this sounds like you're having a big adventure here, going out to connect people and bring people in. So that's right up my alley with the kinds of stuff that I like to do.
Excellent. Glad to hear it.
And I have to ask, totally unrelated question. Do you always color coordinate with the artwork behind you? Because you look fantastic.
I mean, if it happens. I just thought some red would be. I saw the top and I thought that's what I need to wear for lounging around, and the art just seemed to be the nice backdrop for me. So it worked out really nicely at this point.
It struck me, and I couldn't not mention it, but and it's helped with laughter, and that's what you're all about with your new show. So I always say laughter's the best medicine, and especially if you can laugh at yourself, you'll never cease to be amused. So I'm always laughing.
Yeah. Right.
I got plenty of stuff to laugh at here.
I've resigned myself to think that sometime in the future when I'm writing my memoirs, the title is going to be "I Make Myself Laugh." If I'm going to get through this world, I got to laugh at something, Yeah.
So any other big projects going on with you right now?
Currently, nothing at the moment. The Housewives is supposed to come back in February to Avenel, where the author has their own house out there in Avenel, New Jersey, and so we're going to do, I believe, a week or 2 weeks out there
at the Avenel Performing Arts Center.
Yep, I love that place. It's fantastic.
Little venue,
right? I got to do my big gay Italian midlife crisis there last year. Back when it was some of the only theater that was being done in the tri-state area. Yeah. And it was incredible. So to get to go back, to be able to do this show that I love with people that I love, it's going to be such a wonderful thing.
I saw Dixie's Tupperware party there a few months ago.
I love that.
And it's a nice space because it's not crowded on top of each other. It's stadium seats. There's plenty of air and circulation. So there's no reason there's no reason to worry about being in there. And you're not crammed on top of each other. So it's a nice space for what's happening in the world right now.
Absolutely.
And feeling comfortable while you're there as an audience member. So, so tell me about the, what you're doing. I know we actually met at Easton Mountain. a couple years ago at a kink event. So what kind of, and this is, I talked to Joshua a couple weeks ago, and so he was on. So people know that I have dabbled in some of this stuff, but it really helps with it really helps with really connecting to yourself, and it's definitely I've found it an interesting thing. It's not the lifestyle that I live all the time, but I know you have been involved with it for the last couple of years. Any comments you want to make about the journey, or where how that has affected you, and how that has helped you to find who you are?
Well, I think that there's a lot to be said for the psychology that it uncovers. I discovered in myself, going through this journey and doing all these things, that I hold a lot of rage underneath. There's a lot of just pent up anger and fury that I spent many years not dealing with, and it's something that if you bottle up that kind of emotion, it's going to hurt you. It's going to eat you, so I had to approach that anger and approach that darkness, and really look at myself in the mirror and see the things that I needed to change, or the things that I needed to work with. And I think that, more than anything, is one of the greatest things that BDSM shows us. Is it shows us the darkness that we hold on to, and not to get rid of it or to eradicate it, but to embrace it, to say that this is a part of me, this is who I am, and I can either let it destroy me, or I can sidle up next to it, make friends, and use it. There's a great quote, and I'm not going to remember the doctor, the psychiatrist who said it, but it's when we look at and meet our once rejected parts, something wonderful happens. They become our allies. And I think that is really fantastic. I actually got to work with a new client recently, and we got to talking about their relationship with their father, and this sort of Atlas syndrome that they had to take on, because their father wasn't there for the things that they needed to be. They ended up taking care of their father, as a matter of fact, and because they didn't have the language to really understand what it was that they were going through. And now they realize that there was a bipolar disorder. They were dealing with their own things, but because of how that affected them, and how that man had to was removed essentially from society, the son had to pick up the slack and then take care of the father, drive them back and forth in their teenage years, when they really shouldn't have been doing that to begin with. They needed the parental figure to be there, and going straight from there into education, and by their mid to late 20s, they were running a school. So this notion that they really took on the world, and their need to have to control everything, and make everybody else feel better before they make themselves feel better. That sort of revelation was so interesting to me, and the things that we got into in the session that helped inform that and help move the scene in a different direction was invaluable. And we got to debrief afterwards and talk about all these things, and all the weight, the heaviness that was on top of them because of all these things. I think that stuff is so fascinating, and it's so important that we look at that we truly uncover that and ask ourselves the big questions.
Yeah, and it's a great way of really discovering things that might be holding you back, or the fact that you're looking at things through a lens that you didn't create, that was put on you, and then you accepted, because we we look at life through the lens that we look at life through, whether it was, I'm not going to say forced on us, but encouraged on us or placed on us, and we've accepted it, and we don't have to keep accepting it. We can make a change and really look at life through the glasses that is what we're really supposed to be looking at, for our own benefit, for our own edification. And then when we do that, we can take everything that we've been through and help move that along. One of the things when I was talking to Master Joshua, we were talking about taking everything that we've been through, all of our past lives, all of our hurts, all of our the things that have happened to us. And even though we've healed them, we can now bring them into our ministries and into working with other people and into our healing and make them part of our healing. So it's definitely a really cool way. And, it's one of the tools that can be used for people when they're looking to connect with themselves. There's so many different tools out there, and not every tool is for every person.
Yeah. But there's a lot of things to pick from, and a lot of people with different backgrounds to help. There's wonderful things to get out of all these moments that we don't see in everyday life. We get to sidle up next to them. Wayne, can you hear me? Wayne? Uh-oh. I think I lost you, Wayne. I think we got connection issues. Uh-oh. I think you're frozen on my end, Wayne. At least my makeup looks great.
Hello.
There we go.
It seems that my internet went down completely. So now I'm on my hotspot on my phone, and I hear people working out in the street. So I'm assuming that there's, and I looked out the window and I see Comcast people on poles. So there must be something going on outside. So I apologize for that. But it looks like the broadcast is still going. So
Yeah.
we'll just go with that, and we'll see what happens. But my phone is good, so I'm staying on the hotspot on the phone till we're done. So I don't even know what I was saying when we got cut off, but
I think it was something about the things that we get out of BDSM, the different.
Yeah, and we're talking about the different tools that we can get, and whether those kinds of tools are really fit our lifestyle, or whether they are, some people might think they're a little extreme, which is, there's so many mis thought about, that's not the right word, but it's misunderstood a lot.
A lot of misconceptions. A lot of
misconceptions. Thank you. That's the word I was looking for. I got thrown off with the whole internet thing.
Well, and it's funny you say that, because one of the things that I get almost like 95% of the time whenever I'm talking to people, because I've resigned myself to say, okay, you know what, this is something that can't be in the dark anymore. I'm resolved to talk more about it and talk more openly about it. So a lot of the stuff that I get back from people is, oh no, I don't like pain at all. And I say, okay, well, that's not the goal. That's not the point of it all. Like I always liken it to the fact that a voyeur and an exhibitionist get power out of the same exchange. What we're truly getting down to is an exchange of power, and an equal exchange of power. I can't get something from you if I don't get, like, you have to be able to work with somebody and be able to, we say you submit as a submissive, but there is like a being subject to one another for a scene, for that sort of notion. I say that BDSM is its own form of love, because one person has to be able to say, I care about you enough to put my entire being in your hands. And the other person has to say, I care about you enough to handle and be responsible for whatever happens next. So people don't realize that it is truly a care for one another.
Yes. And the submissive might put the power in the hand of the dominant, but the dominant then has to return it at the end.
Mm-hmm.
And they have, and hopefully they've returned it enhanced.
Yes. And in that way, go ahead.
That connection then becomes even more deeper. How's it by English today? It becomes deeper, there, and more intense, really, and more tangible.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. That intimacy is so crucial to make those connections work.
So anything else you want to say about the topic before we
plenty of things, I'm sure. I love that there is more BDSM that is coming to light. I was talking with someone actually just yesterday that we have to be willing to step out of the darkness. We have to be able to show more of ourselves, because the only way we're going to be accepted is if the spotlight is shown on us. And I've been talking so much more about needing to be out in public, being seen in whatever dress up and whatever makeup and whatever leather I'm feeling that day, because I can't stay hidden anymore. I can't rightfully put myself back in a box for everybody. And if something happens, knock on wood, if someone were to say something or do something that were against what I was presenting, then I would still know that I was there being my most authentic self.
And authenticity really is what everything boils down to. I mean, how can you trust people that aren't authentic?
Exactly.
If you're lying to yourself, then you're lying to everybody else as well. So if it's a part of you, it needs to come out as a part of you. And it might not be a huge part of you. Like in my case, it's not, but in other people's, there's more of it. And it's definitely a part, and to acknowledge that and not be afraid to talk about it.
That part.
You know,
Yeah.
it's definitely, you know, something to be aware of and to actually have the courage to do. So
Yeah. That part, the courage, just being able to speak up and say it is everything.
Yes. My friend Pam just joined and says, hey. Hey, Pam. Thanks for joining us. I don't know if she was on earlier before we had our technical glitch there or not, but it's definitely, what do I want to say? It's definitely been enlightening speaking with you as usual. So I want to thank you for joining me. If you want to just hang out in the green room for a second, and then I'll be right back with you. I'm going to wrap up the show, and who knows, hopefully we'll get to see you again very soon. You're not that far away. So
I would love that.
Thanks for joining me, and I'll be right with you.
Thank you for having me.
So, those of you who are interested in trying some BDSM or anything, let me know. I can hook you up. The Migos is going to be my guest next week, and Migos is a modern day Renaissance woman. She's a writer, founder of Self-Care Collective for Black and Brown women. She's an artistic activist and creative. So she's going to be my guest next week. So join me then. And as always, I encourage you all to go out, make a connection, and live your best lives. Thanks, and don't forget to like my page.